Good afternoon, scholars. Go ahead and take a moment to take down your title and your objective for today's lesson. Okay, welcome back. I hope you guys are having a good week and staying safe and healthy. Today we're learning, as you can see, about standard deviation, and I've written down here the definition, so go ahead and take that down as well. Standard deviation is just a measure of how spread out numbers are. So just like we did yesterday, we're going to be looking at a data set or just a group of numbers. So in this case, here's an example of a data set that I've written here. And we're going to be doing some calculations with those numbers that will allow us to see how spread out are these numbers. Are they all close to each other or not? Now this right here is the official formula for standard deviation that I've drawn in pink right here. Now I know there's some crazy symbols in here. I've also written this out as steps, which should be a lot easier to understand, okay? So don't worry too much about this formula. If you're interested about how it works, at the end of today's video, I will explain the different symbols, but just understand that I've taken this formula and I've made it more simple. I've basically condensed it down into these 4 steps. These 4 steps are doing the same thing as this formula up here. It's obviously just written with words instead of with symbols, okay? So again, take a minute. I will just read through these and then go ahead and take a minute to pause the video and to write these down for yourself. So step number 1 is to find the mean or the average of the data set. Again, if this was our data set example, we would need to find the average of those numbers. That's step 1. Okay, step 2 is for each number in the data set, we subtract the mean and square the result. This is the most computationally heavy or most difficult step, so we'll get there in a bit. We'll do it together. Step 3 is to find the mean of those square differences, so we're finding another average. And step 4 is finally to take the square root. So go ahead and take a minute to, again, pause, write down these notes, and then we'll move forward. Okay. So if you're back, I assume you're ready to move on. Again, we're going to look at this data set right here. 9, 2, 5, 4, 12, 7, 8, and 11. Okay, so step 1 was simply to find the average of the data set. This in green is our data set. So to find the average, this is what we learned yesterday. We add up all of the numbers here, all of the numbers in our data set, and then we divide by the number of numbers that there are. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops, 8 numbers there. Okay, so when I do this, you can do this on your phone calculator or your computer, or if you have a calculator with you handy. But when I add up my numerator right here, it gives me 58. Okay, now I divide that by 8 from right here. 58 divided by 8. I'll go ahead and do that on my laptop calculator. I typed the wrong thing. It goes us 7.25. Okay, so that is good. That is step 1 complete. So for step 2, it says for each number in the data set, subtract the mean and square the result. So we're going to be looking at each number in the data set individually. So I'm going to go ahead and list them out again right here. I'm going to draw them vertically or up and down, and you'll see why in just a minute. So for each of these numbers, I've been instructed to subtract the mean and then square the result. So first, subtract the mean. We found the mean. It's right here, 7.25. So I'm going to want to go ahead and subtract 7.25 for each number. Okay, so again, it said for each number, subtract the mean, that's what we did, then square the result. So what I'm going to do right here is square the result. So again, I'm putting these into parentheses because we need to do the subtraction first before we do the squaring. It says to square the result. So we're squaring the result of the subtraction. So for each of these, what we're going to do here is we're going to do the subtraction inside the parentheses, and then we're going to square the result. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go through these together, and I'm going to go kind of slowly, so hopefully that you can calculate it as I'm calculating it. But what you are not seeing in the background is I'm typing this into my online calculator in my computer. So 9 minus 7.25, again, that's in parentheses, and I want to square that. Okay, that's giving me 3.0625. Now I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at these two decimals, 3.06. Okay, let's keep going. Now we have 2 minus 7.25, again in parentheses, and we'll square it. Okay, now what's interesting here is you'll notice 2 minus 7.25, that gives us a negative number, right? But if we square a negative number, then we're going to get a positive number. So we get 27.56. Okay, let's do it again. 5 minus 7.25 squared. That gives us 5.06. Now we're using 4 instead of 5, and we get 10.56. With 12, we have 22.56. Got a lot of 0.56 here. And then 7. Notice that even by squaring, this allows all of these numbers to be positive. Because even if we were to get a negative number in the parentheses, after squaring it, it would become positive. This one's 0.06. We got 2 left. 0.56. And 14.06. Okay, that is step 2. For each number, we subtracted the mean. That's this piece right here. And then we squared the result. So we have this list of new numbers here. Okay, like I said, number 2 is the one that might take the most time or be the most difficult, and we just did it. Step 3 says find the mean of those squared differences. Okay, so all we're doing now is we're taking this group of new numbers and we're finding the mean of it. So how do we find the mean? Let's go over here. Step 3, we simply add them all up and then divide by however many there are. So again, 3.06 plus 27.56 plus 5.06, etc., right? We would add up all these numbers here, and what would we divide it by? Well, however many numbers there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so let's take a minute together to do this calculation. I'm going to, again, be doing it in the background on my computer. So I'm going to add 3.06, please do it with me, plus 27.56 plus 5.06 plus 10.56 plus 22.56 plus 0.06 plus 0.56, we're almost there, plus 14.06. Hopefully I've got all the numbers. Okay, so we add all those up, and then we simply divide by 8 because we had 8 numbers. Okay, and the answer to that, which I just found on my online calculator, is 10.435. Okay, we're almost done. What is step 4? Step 4 tells us to take the square root. So we're going to find the square root of 10.435. Okay, again, going to my online calculator, finding the square root of 10.435. And that gives me 3.23. All right. Boom, there's our answer, standard deviation. Okay, so I'm just going to give that one example. If you want to stick around and learn about this formula, feel free. Otherwise, you can go ahead to do the exit ticket. We don't have a Delta Math for today, just the exit ticket. All right, so for those of you who are still here who may be curious about how this works, I'm just going to show you the formula and how it correlates to each step. So finding the average of the data set. That's this guy right here, this little mu looking thing. It's kind of like a U but it's not. It's just a symbol for saying this is the average of something. Okay. So that's this guy right here. Now step 2 says for each number in the data set, subtract the mean and square the result. So that's this piece right here. This whole guy, I'm gonna go ahead and put him in a box, is step 2. This symbol right here says take the sum of things or add things up. And this is saying all the way from the first item to the last item. So we're taking the sum of all the things. So we'll use first right here, we're subtracting the mean, right? And then you're squaring the result. You can see that this piece of it right here with the squared, it looks very much like this step right here. So those correlate, right? And all that this symbol is saying is just saying, okay, take all those and add them up. And as you can see, we did. We added them all up right here, right? And then the only other part is multiplying it by 1 over n, which is sort of the same thing as dividing by n, which is what we did over here, right? We divided by 8, but we're finding the mean. Finally, that's everything that's inside the square root, so we just take the square root of whatever we got, which would be 3.23. So really, you can see that we did all these steps, we've done everything here, and this is just a Greek letter that stands for standard deviation. I just figured it would be easier to break it up into words. All right, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Have a great day.